All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's interview. I am chatting with Jonathan Morrissey from Richmar Florist in Pennsylvania. Jonathan, did I get the name right?
You did, and that's not an
Okay.
easy one to get, so you're good.
I asked Jonathan about 15 seconds ago, and in the middle of that transition, I had forgotten, so it's making sure.
Like,
For those of you tuning into this, Jonathan is part of Richmar Florist. They are one of the, I guess you'd say, newest sponsors to NASCAR. They've been making a splash, and I thought it'd be cool to get his perspective on what it looks like as a sponsor in the sport to kind of maybe fill us in a couple of things we didn't know about how that works and all. So I'm really glad to have you joining us, Jonathan.
well, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
So to start with, tell us a little bit about the history of Richmar Florist.
So we're, just a regional company. We're located in the Lehigh Valley, about an hour north of Philadelphia, very close to the Pennsylvania and New Jersey border. My grandfather and great-grandfather started the company in 1955, and my father and I kind of navigate the company now. And we had basically the simplest beginning you can imagine, up to where we're at now. My grandfather started this in the basement of a townhouse and had a bunch of different businesses throughout his life. And, this is the one that kind of stuck. And this is the one my dad kind of ran with. And I've been full-time since '03, since I finished college. So, we've seen a ton of changes and a ton of growth in the last 17 years. And, here we are, we've arrived in NASCAR. So we've got a lot of cool partners, we work in all kinds of sports. So sports is a passion of mine. And one of the things that I like to tell other florists is, find something you're passionate about, whatever it is, and kind of tie it into work. So this is awesome for me to be able to, kind of tie this stuff in and enjoy some sporting events, but also be on the backside of them. And to people have that in our resume is just awesome.
So y'all are found in Pennsylvania. What was kind of the decision to make you want to jump into NASCAR as a sponsor? Did you follow the sport? Was it just seeing them come up to Pocono? What did that look like?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a fan of all sports. I mean, I love the Eagles. I got Nick, behind me right here. And about 10 years ago, I'm newer into motorsports. About 10 years ago, I got some club access passes, some pit passes to go to Pocono from a good friend of mine. And I didn't really know anything about NASCAR at the time. I mean, knew who the big names were, obviously, but had never been to a race, never been to a local track, nothing. I loved it. My wife and I absolutely loved it. So, become instant fans. Fast forward a few more years. Brandon Nadalski, who was the president of Pocono at the time, he and I got a business award together, 40 under 40 award. And my wife says to me at the dinner that you got to go talk to this guy because we need to be the florist for Pocono Raceway. And sure enough, I talked to Brandon, great guy. And whoever they were using went out of business. So we've been with them, I want to say like 6-7 years. This might be coming up on our 7th or 8th season. So it's good because I lost track of the amount of time. So, it's been a while, but that kind of gets us involved. We've done some really cool projects with them. We work with Napa, we work with Axalta, Team Lowe's, Roger Penske, Verizon. So we've done a bunch of, sponsorships, a bunch of flowers for sponsors there, as well as kind of Jimmy's leaving, Team Lowe's. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Junior's kind of retirement with Axalta. So we've been able to do some really cool stuff with them. And I just get involved in sponsorship with, the smallest logo, probably about the size of my hand, with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms kind of wrote me into it and say, hey, we're going to put a car out of Pocono. We're going to put a car and a truck out there. So I'm like, all right, yeah, why not? It just sounds like a lot of fun. It just sounds like it would be a cool milestone for the company to say, hey, we had our name on a race car. And boy, did that really change pretty quick. But that's really how we got our start. It was just somebody saying like, hey, you need to experience this. And, by the way, while you're experiencing it, there's free beer. So, that's an easy sell, for it. But I've absolutely fallen in love with it. And, just like I said, sometimes just in the right place at the right time. And this just happens to be one of those things where we really kind of fell into something good.
Yeah, it's cool because I took a couple of my friends to their first race last year, and that was their biggest takeaway is they were like, I thought I'm just going to show up, sit in my seat and see cars go around. But they were like, there's so many moving parts to this race weekend where you got all the, the free stuff, you got the pre-race things. And when I was researching for this interview, that's one thing I was thinking about is, man, there's always like, there is flowers, like, in a broadcast or when you're at the track. And I'm like, I've never sat there and thought that this is something that someone is being paid to plan out, to bring in or whatever. Like they don't just show up there. Someone just doesn't show up and say, I stopped by Lowe's, here's some flowers. It was cool to think about that way, where it's like, there's flowers even for these special occasions and all.
Yeah, hospitality areas, a lot of these big companies, a lot of the, the bigger teams, like I was saying, Axalta, Lowe's, Verizon, these are all companies that we know, that are huge in racing. And, when they're entertaining people there, they're accenting those areas. The tracks also accent those areas. When we start actually doing Dover, since we couldn't do it this year because there was no fans, they're going to have flowers in Victory Lane, which is so cool. So I'm so excited be able to say like that's our stuff in Victory Lane. So but yeah, people just don't realize, and I think to the casual fan, you just you're overwhelmed to begin with. So if you're not like on the back end of things, like you're not looking to say like, oh wow, did you see that tent, or did you see that hospitality area? You're just like, whoa, what's going on here at this track? So yeah, I can easily see how it can be lost, but it's awesome that our talents get to get showcased, to some of these really big name companies. And, a lot of those companies have played host to us, many a times when we didn't have the kind of access we have now. So, it was great to grow in the sport with those companies. And some of them we still do some things for. Some of them don't do hospitality at Pocono anymore. So, it was definitely a good time while we had them.
So as a fan, I've always wondered, how does that sponsor process work? Does someone reach out to you? Do you just start calling up random race teams and say, hey, I got the sack of money, who wants it? I know it's exaggeration, but what?
I've kind of been on both ends of that spectrum. And when we were talking before, we started, I said to you about, if you kind of hang around long enough, you kind of get some respect. So, when I started out, like I said, the Phantoms kind of wrote me into it, and I kind of got a taste of it. I'm like, oh, I really like this. I like the fact that our name's on a car. And I don't think 3 years ago, social media was kind of where it's at today. I think it's a lot different, even in that short period of time, at least for me. And I think for most people, it was part of our daily life, but I don't think we were depending on it as much as we are right now. So, just kind of got that idea and just kind of, just ran with it. And, here we are. But, I've been on both sides of it where, after last season, I was picking up the phone, just calling people. I couldn't even get teams to call me back last season. I had the front row was definitely one of the better ones. I get hooked up with David Reagan. So I'm like, this is great. I'm set. I've got a winner. I've got a great, a great brand ambassador. And I finally get to meet David. We talk, great time at Pocono, and he announces a couple weeks later he's retiring. So, and I end up meeting some people, and that starts snowballing. So once you start knowing one guy, this guy, that guy, you start knowing everybody pretty quick. So it went from me being kind of roped into it, me picking up the phone, to now people finding us. So I think that's probably the biggest form of flattery, is when one of these guys says, man, I really want to be part of what you're doing. On whatever level, if they're ARCA, if they're local, if they're Cup, whatever. I think it's awesome. I think it goes a long way from saying where we kind of started the sport to where we are now. Like even guys that know that I can't sponsor them will just shoot us a message and say, hey, I really like what you're doing in NASCAR. This is awesome. Keep up the good work. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I've even had some teams call me that I couldn't afford, but which is still pretty cool to be able to say like, yeah, like they wanted to be part of what we're doing, or, they like what we're doing, or they're at the very least, they notice what we're doing. So yeah, it has definitely come full circle. And I've been in every part of that to, hey, I want to do this, to just call me. So it's definitely been interesting. It'll definitely, there's definitely a ton of opportunities for us in 2021. So, total 360 from 2019 to 2021, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think I learned a lot through that process, and I learned, maybe sometimes you overpay for things,
Hmm.
or, what to even ask for. I think that, it's kind of like one of those things, like, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
So it's definitely come full circle for sure.
Now, I know as a fan, it seems like it shifted to where, 10, 20 years ago, a lot of times the sponsor was with, that owner. The owner would put a driver in the car, whereas now it's becoming it's almost like a lot of drivers have the sponsor.
Mhm.
I don't know how, I don't know if it's like, if it's getting too far into contracts or whatever, but I guess
Mhm.
just from the outside, I've wondered, do you see this transition where it's more like drivers reaching out to you, or is it teams reaching out? Because I wondered, if you sign, is it Garrett Smithley saying, "Hey, I'll do a commercial for you," or is it Rick Ware Racing saying, "Hey, we'll shoot a commercial here with him standing by the car, saying, 'Hey, come visit Rich Mar,' or whatever."
Yeah, I have different deals with different teams. I find that the best deals are with the driver directly,
Hmm.
because dealing with the driver directly is different. That driver is either connected to you through a friendship. That driver is passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
Um, and I find that if the driver connects with you, you have a huge success. Like they are going to over deliver, entirely.
Hmm.
The team is busy. Let's face it. A lot
Yeah.
of these teams are. We were talking about it, not only financially short, but human resource wise short. So I think that as I've grown in the sport, the best relationships that I have taken away from this, and the best friendships on
Hmm.
top of business, have been driver direct. So that's not easy,
Yeah.
because you have to work your way into that and meet people. But my circle of drivers, or my team, my five. If I was playing basketball, I'm set. Maybe not height wise, but
You got the heart there. That's what
they're all
matters.
exactly. Yeah, they're all friendly, together. So when one guy knows one guy, say, hey, you need something, John might be able to help you. So, it's pretty neat to be able to have a good core of guys that we
Hmm.
can do some fun stuff with.
Gotcha. Next up, as a sponsor, I think you were saying earlier, y'all been in the sport 3 years or so. Have you seen a
Mhm.
growth in your business, or is it, too early to kind of tell? Or I guess, how do you track that? Is it with money? Is it with social media followers? Or I guess, have you seen success, and how do you see, I've sponsored this driver, this is successful?
Yeah, I think the success is measured, in so many different ways. I mean, on the business side of things, the racing sponsorship builds. First of all, let's face it, builds internet content. There's pictures, there's website backlinks, there's social media hits. So there's multitude of things. I can definitely tell you that for me personally, it has worked. I think because I have stayed at it. I was the one that stayed active in social media. We really push it, as much as we can. It's, outside of our run of the mill, TV, billboard, things that we've been doing for years. This is our biggest investment outside of that. So it's really nice to see it come full circle, and to see the following grow, and then see people say, wow, I really, I want that t-shirt, or even drivers saying, can I have your shirt? Can we swap shirts? I think that's awesome, and even if we're not working together, it's pretty cool just for somebody to say, like, I want that shirt, and I want you to have mine. So I've seen it grow, and Dover is the perfect example. I think that if Garrett doesn't perform in that race the way that he does, maybe that doesn't happen, and maybe we just, like I said, maybe we're in the right place at the right time. But that relationship stemmed out of social media, and success on and off the track. We have drivers that we don't have drivers in victory lane every week, but we have the kind of guys that people can come up to, and people can have some personal contact with. Like Spencer Boyd is a great example of how personable he is to fans. That translates back to us. When he's posting pictures of us out there, or he's in that fire suit, people are seeing that. I know they can't see it at the track just yet, But, I want a driver who's approachable. I want a driver who's going to stop and take a picture. I want a driver who's going to sign and sign an autograph or do whatever he has to do to interact with a fan and make the fan experience. I mean, and whatever performance he does on top of that is just a bonus. But I think you would find that any of the guys that we sponsor are fan friendly, and being a fan, that's what I want to see. Growing up, if I went to a Phillies game or I went wherever, I was just so excited that somebody would sign something for me. I didn't care, if it was, Mike Schmidt or whoever it was. That didn't bother me. Like, I just thought it was the coolest thing that somebody, an athlete would stop what they were doing and take a picture or, sign something. We didn't take a lot of pictures back then like we do now, but, I thought it was neat that they would sign your hat or they would sign your ball or whatever you had, so I think that also increases, our brand awareness as well too. And, there's no way for me to track it, entirely. We're not a nationally based company where I just can't send X widget, throughout the country. But I think, the opportunities that it has opened for us, and just on the brand side of things, when people are shopping and they see, hey, they see that we're sponsoring NASCAR, they see we're hooked up with Dover and Pocono. I want to build consumer confidence as well too through it. So what better way to say, well, these guys have all these connections. Yeah, they must be doing something right. It's a nice partner to have for sure.
Yeah, and I know as a NASCAR fan, it is, like I was telling you beforehand, it's awesome to see a new sponsor in the sport, but it's awesome to see a sponsor that is investing in these smaller teams, these younger drivers, because, I think a lot of people, they sit there and say, man, if I can just get a little sticker on Joey Logano's car, just so I can say, oh, Victory Lane, that's cool. And there's nothing against Joey.
Yeah.
I look at, who's the next Jimmy Johnson out there, and you look at a Stephon Parsons, you look at a Spencer Boyd, 10 years from now, they could be the guy chasing, that, maybe not 8 championships, because they'd really have to get on it super quick, but I guess the 48's open. But, you sit there and you look back and it's like, well, who gave them that start? So now when they're showing those, videos of their career, it's that, that's who's giving them the start. So,
I always tell these guys, if they hit it big, just do a cool throwback at Darlington. Don't forget me. Don't forget the little guy. But even if they don't, I think that as a family company, I want to pick people that are good ambassadors and are good ambassadors of the sport in general. And I think that we've done an excellent job, kind of narrowing down who is really fan friendly and who really goes out of their way for the fans. And like I said, I mean, other drivers should take note of what Spencer Boyd is doing. Seriously. I know it takes a lot of his time and he pours a lot of effort into it, but you can see the following there that he has. And people that I talk to order, the shirt that I have on are so passionate about Spencer Boyd. Yeah. It doesn't even matter that he's not in victory lane or he's got a top 5, they just want to be part of what he's doing the way he's doing it. So, their character is just awesome. And it's just awesome to be a part of it.
It's been surprising. I think out of everyone I've interviewed, his name comes up the most. And it's funny because, like I said, he's got the win back in Talladega. I'm a fan of his, but I know a lot of casual fans that they're like, okay, he drives in the Truck Series, but it's just crazy how many people are like, oh man, yeah, Spencer's the best, or man, Spencer can really do whatever. And I'm like, it's so cool to see, like you said, someone who is always just there trying to do what he can for sponsors, trying to get better or whatever. And
from little up to the top, I mean, and fans love that interaction. I think that's one of the best things about NASCAR is the interaction that fans and sponsors, that everybody kind of has with the athlete. If you go to a baseball game, you're not hanging out in the dugout before the game. You're not getting anywhere close to Bryce Harper or, Patrick Mahomes. You're not getting anywhere near those guys. They're right there. They're eating their lunch or they're doing an interview and there you are. So I think that NASCAR really gives the fans the interaction that nothing else gives them. So it's easy for fans to become passionate with someone that's interactive with them, and I think he does an awesome job with that.
I agree. So finally, your company offers flowers for every occasion. Is there a particular event that you've personally enjoyed preparing for, or maybe a specific event that you just enjoyed like having to put together the flowers for?
Our first big event in sports happened in 2009. We did the U.S. Women's Open for golf when it was here in the Lehigh Valley. And that was the biggest sale our company ever had and the biggest exposure that we ever had. And I would say that that kind of ended that decade and vaulted us into a whole new category. You know, it really showed people not only in the area what we could do, but bigger companies in the area what we could do. And, you know, it was just an awesome experience. I spent every day at the course, you know, maintaining stuff and, you know, talking to all the ladies and you know, the other sponsors and the ladies that ran the event. And we're getting the Senior Open here in a few years. So hopefully life's back to normal. And we're already in talks with MSG Promotions and the USGA about, you know, let's do this again. You know, this is right in our backyard. Let's, you know, let's do the flowers there. So that was probably, you know, the most fun I ever had, not only because I love sports, but, you know, it's just so cool to be a part of something like that. And it was so nice for our area to have something like that. And, you know, the most memorable thing for me is giving the winner her flowers. So that was awesome. You know, being out on the 18th green, a girl was from South Korea that won. And, you know, just being able to hand her flowers and just to be out there and to see her reaction that moment, that the U.S. Open champ, you know, I just thought it was, you know, an awesome experience. And, you know, how much in 11 years we've grown off of that experience. But that was definitely by far, I think, because it was the first one. It was the first of many awesome opportunities that, you know, I could talk about for a whole nother show that we've had. But that one, I got somebody to take a chance on me, and you know, we never looked back on it, and it was awesome. I look at the pictures every day in my office. I've got a giant banner hanging, you know, in there from the 2009 U.S. Women's Open, and I mean, I think we marketed the crap out of that thing. I think we held on to that forever until we had all this other cool stuff. So I would say like 5-6 years we were still talking about it after it was done because it was so cool. You know, I had a lot of pride in that was, you know, right in my backyard here, and you know, that we were a huge part of it. So that would be by far my favorite.
That's awesome. Usually at the end of this, I leave it to the guest to plug anything they want to, their socials, anything upcoming. So Jonathan, the floor is yours.
Okay, so you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Richmar Florist. You can look at us online, richmarflorist.com. You want to send somebody flowers, we can send things pretty much all over the country. We have a lot of fun stuff, you know, on the horizon. I think on the sponsorship side of things, I think we're pretty much done for the season. I definitely had a lot of offers, you know, on the table, but our big thing that we're looking into is being a part of NASCAR Heat 5. So we're in a lot of talks with them about getting Spencer Boyd's truck in there, getting Garrett Smithley and Stephen Parsons into it. So I believe the October DLC is what we're targeted for. So I'm really hoping that all that comes together, and you know, you can see our logo in there now if you have the season pass and you're using our guy Spencer Boyd. We've got a huge logo on the truck bed, so I've been firing up NASCAR Heat 5 quite a bit and enjoying staring at myself as I'm making left turns. You know, but a lot of fun stuff, and you know, we're looking forward to, you know, another successful season in NASCAR next year. So you know, hopefully our season can end with an entrance into NASCAR Heat 5, and we have some fun giveaways planned if that all pans out. We have some of our partners and drivers in on that too, so that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's kind of the horizon, you know, we're on now. I'm hoping that fans get back out to the track next year. If anybody watching is interested in hero cards, just hit us up on social media. We still have some left from the season. But overall, it's just been a fun season. And I'm so glad that, you know, we're a part of NASCAR, and I'm so glad that the racing community, you know, has definitely embraced us, as you said, you know, being the newest sponsor. So I'm just very fortunate that everybody buys into what we're doing, and very fortunate the drivers buy into what we're doing. We've got helmets, we've got fire suits, you know, so you're seeing us somewhere, even if we're not on the car. I mean, Ryan Vargas has an awesome El Dia de Los Muertos helmet, you know, so I think we're going to do a t-shirt together for Halloween. So keep an eye on that. You can get a really cool a shirt from that helmet. So just some fun stuff, you know, we're having fun, and the guys that we're sponsoring having fun with it. So I couldn't be more grateful to the NASCAR community, and hopefully we continue to grow.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, for supporting so many great stories and drivers that we're looking at for years to come. And thank you for joining me today for this interview.
No problem. Thank you.